on Sunday night, the biggest moment of the year outside of the World Cup, Bad Bunny shattered all the halftime records to let you know that even though he was speaking entirely in Spanish throughout his performance, he put on one of the greatest halftime shows of all time. Bad Bunny waving the Puerto Rican flag and having the American cape on stepped up for the NFL as they have recently broadened their horizon to bring in a more diverse set of artists to perform the halftime show. And what unfolded was a party that the world could not wait to enjoy. It was him dancing, people from all different ethnicities joining along, Latin Americans, Hispanics. Lady Gaga got in on the party as well, singing a Latin rendition of Die with a Smile. It was a party that resonated for so many people who were a little worried that a Spanish only halftime show would be too isolating, would make it difficult for people who didn't know what he was saying to enjoy it. But the reality was that the style of Bad Bunny's music actually was a style that is easy to resonate with, because what you want out of a Bad Bunny concert experience is just opening the floor to dance. So you don't need to speak Spanish to feel the rhythms, the Puerto Rican cultural sound that was being put on the stage for the world to hear. And it was confirmed by the fact that he had the highest viewed halftime show of all time. If that doesn't show you that people were there to watch and appreciate Bad Bunny's music, I don't know what else will tell you that. But we can dive into the fact that this came as an opportunity for him to not only promote himself, but he also in Spanish told people, "My name is Benito, and I'm here today at the Super Bowl because I never stopped believing in myself. Because I pursued this dream, I did what was necessary to become one of the biggest artists in the world." And he decided to deliver the message that you should believe in yourself and you can achieve your dreams. Something that we've seen many celebrities do. And Bad Bunny reinforced that message. You see the pictures of him when he used to just be working at a grocery store. He worked his way up to becoming a Grammy Album of the Year winner. And he ended off his halftime performance delivering the message that the only thing more powerful than hate is love. So he chose to keep it relatively safe politically and more so deliver a message to chase your dreams and to always lead with love, which I think I can commend him for, because there were a lot of people anticipating that this was going to be an extremely controversial halftime show. Now, it wouldn't be a internet cultural moment without some memes. Him looking into the camera, right, telling you to believe in yourself. Some people point back at themselves. Is he talking to me? Is he talking to me? Is he looking at me? Me? Believe in myself? The set was so beautiful. Bad Bunny took that football over 100 yards, the most by any halftime performer, the most by a player in the modern era. Maybe Bad Bunny needs to get on the field. The Patriots looked like they needed him out there with the amount of yards he was accumulating. He had more yards than any of their running backs or receivers. When I saw the wedding disperse and Lady Gaga appear on the stage, my first reaction was, is that Lady Gaga? What is she about to do in this Latin performance? Oh, and she starts delivering the Latin type of sound. And Lady Gaga is a great performer. And then she starts hitting the dance moves as well. And I said, oh, she committed to being a great part of this performance. But this is the kid from Puerto Rico, the guy who believed in himself from that young age, wanting to become one of the greatest artists of all time. And that's who he became as Bad Bunny, and became one of the younger people to headline the Super Bowl at the age of 31. He pretty much did the equivalent of three-peating in the world of music, having the #1 album with Debí Tirar Más Fotos and going on to win the Grammy and perform it at the Super Bowl. There literally is nothing else that he could have accomplished with that absolute unbelievable trifecta of accomplishment for a musician. He's had the Grammy for Album of the Year. He's performed at the Super Bowl halftime show. What is next for Bad Bunny? The The only thing I know people are still begging for him to do is to perform in the rest of the states outside of Puerto Rico. Come back, perform, do your respectful, good tour for Debí Tirar Más Fotos. And by the way, that wedding that dispersed for Lady Gaga, that was a real wedding. These were people who were invited by Bad Bunny to have their actual wedding unveiled in front of the world. So this was real love that he chose to reflect in this performance, and it so seamlessly fit in to the performance because it turned into a traditional Latin American party where you have the kids sleeping, you have all the adults dancing with each other, the cake is massive. Bad Bunny really took the time to reflect all these different aspects of Puerto Rican and generally Latin American Hispanic culture. And I liked this post from Impact that took the time to look into all the different phases of cultural symbolism that was built into the storytelling of his performance. I mean, you saw it open with the people in the field working, reflecting the hardworking Puerto Rican people that have a legacy of being in the agriculture, taking all of these field work and bringing it into the city, bringing all these crops and such over time. So he's walking through the field. He took the time to climb on the electric pole that reflected some of the challenges that Puerto Rico has had with the island frequently, frankly, experiencing outages because of an outdated electric grid. We saw him have a kid watching him win the Grammy. He hands the Grammy to the kid, sort of symbolizing that when you have someone who looks like you accomplishing a major goal, something that most people only dream of, it opens the mind of many to believe that they can accomplish it too, which you have to commend him for taking the time to consciously understand the impact of what he was doing, what it could have on people who look like him. He had a small Puerto Rican club being reflected in it. When he has the song Nueva York, where he's reflecting the great experiences he's had in New York. You have, as I mentioned, the kid who was sleeping at the wedding party, the kids running around, everyone's dancing, having a good time. Again, even if you don't speak Spanish, you can enjoy the party vibe that he's reflecting here. It's more about, are you creating an environment for people to be free, have fun, and let go, let all their problems fade away for this moment in time. The set design was literally plucking aspects of the Puerto Rican culture from, you could see boxers, you could see people dancing, you could see the jewelry. He took the time to make sure this was maybe the only time we'll ever see a Puerto Rican artist headline the Super Bowl, and he wanted to make sure that he took advantage of that opportunity. He also invited a bunch of other Latin American artists, Cardi B, Jessica Alba, Karol G, all these other people came to join in on the party alongside him. This felt like it was more of a reflection of the Puerto Rican culture than Jennifer Lopez chose to do when she got the headline alongside Shakira, which felt more like a broader Latin party. This was him choosing very specific aspects of the Puerto Rican culture to reflect it with his opportunity to pretty much design whatever he wanted. I love that he invited Lady Gaga in on it. That might have helped rein people in who were worried that they wouldn't get any part of it. Lady Gaga sings in English, so you could capture more of that as she sings and still feel the rhythms sound. And my favorite part, other than Bad Bunny, was Ricky Martin. I wish I could play his singing for you, but as he seemed to lap Bad Bunny and Lady Gaga for vocal performance, you could just see from the visual him performing with so much confidence, reflecting the passion as he had his opportunity to perform at the Super Bowl. So shout out to Ricky Martin as well. I smiled a little bit when I saw him come up on camera. And Bad Bunny closed out, making sure to let you know he still is passionate about being an American. He says, God bless America, and names all these Latin American cultures and countries to show that there are people from all these different places that make up what the United States is today. After the show, CNN chose to lead with the headline that Bad Bunny's halftime performance redefined what it means to be an American patriot. And the gist of it is Bad Bunny chose to bring the iconography of Puerto Rican culture to his halftime show in a joyous, high energy way without making it overly political in his performance. And it posed the question, which I'd love to hear your response to: was this the right way to reflect how all these different cultures are now interwoven into the American cloth? Bad Bunny went on to have the highest viewed halftime show of all time, 135.4 million viewers, an unreal number. And people went to dissecting it, showing the kids sleeping, like I mentioned, him becoming the first artist to win Album of the Year and perform at the Super Bowl. And after he claimed his victory accomplishing this, he wiped his Instagram, seemingly symbolizing the beginning of a new era for Bad Bunny. Now, don't get it twisted. Even though there were people criticizing it and worrying that this would not accurately reflect what a Super Bowl halftime show should be, there were people at home getting down, enjoying the music, even if they didn't know a single word that was being said. He made sure to pay homage. He's a big wrestling fan. He jumps off this top of the building into the crowd, holding him up. He had theatrics. He was climbing on top of the electric grid. He was running around. He was extremely mobile, one of the most mobile halftime shows that I've seen. It felt like we were watching a movie. And in the end, the Benito Bowl, the Bad Bunny halftime show, was legendary. The Bad Bunny halftime show was the ultimate victory for a Puerto Rican American artist at the biggest of stages. He still showed honor to America. He still showed honor to one of the pieces of America, the Puerto Rican culture. And alongside his Grammy, he holds up that Super Bowl trophy, as the Bad Bunny Bowl was a massive success. The last thing I wanted to look at in relation to it was to pose the question, what makes a great halftime show? So you could see that Bad Bunny now holds the record for the most viewed one. When you look at the top 10, Bad Bunny, completely Spanish halftime show, but Bad Bunny might be, if you really took the time to dissect the numbers, he might be the most listened to artist in the world. And his impact in Latin countries alone is enough to consider him up there. So you have to have someone who's a massive global superstar now today. In addition to that, when you look at Kendrick, controversy, the Kendrick Drake beef elevated the curiosity around Kendrick to a whole new level. They wanted to watch and see, is he going to perform the disses? Is he going to really look into the camera and say, hey, Drake? All that anticipation made for the second highest viewed halftime show of all time. Third, Michael Jackson. I mean, what can you say? Probably the most famous musician in human history in terms of peak for peak. Some people say that Michael Jackson was the most famous person on planet Earth for a large chunk of his existence. You're not going to compete with that. Even though Bad Bunny and Kendrick had higher numbers relative, when you consider that there was no social media, it's not even close. Usher and Rihanna, I think, are reflective more of that social media raising the floor, but they put on great performances, and it seems like the Super Bowl is only growing. As since Rock Nation stepped in to decide the halftime performers, you have 1, 2, 3, 4 of the top 5 coming out of Rock Nation stepping in to decide who will perform at the halftime show. That's not to be forgotten. Lady Gaga, who was brought into the Bad Bunny performance, had her own amazing Super Bowl halftime show. Coldplay also cheated a little bit, bringing in Beyonce and Bruno Mars, who's right beneath him, and Madonna. Now, the oldest on this list, other than Michael Jackson, seemingly someone who's a lot less relevant today, but back in 2012 was able to bring in a ton of eyes. So we look at this and say, a good halftime show today is not the same as it was in the past. Now you have to be a global superstar. It's not only looking at your performance in America, and on top of that, you have Bad Bunny, you have to have dropped an album recently that made a lot of noise. Controversy like Kendrick, these are the type of metrics that people are looking for to see the iconic halftime performance. Even though Usher and Rihanna are up here, I've seen way more internet response from the Bad Bunny and last year the Kendrick Lamar show. So even though this is the initial viewership in terms of the longevity and how it's remembered going forward, that's what you need to be in that iconic era. Everyone remembers when Katy Perry was literally on top of a lion riding around. That's what makes an iconic show. Bad Bunny delivered one of the greatest halftime shows of all time. I'm willing to make the argument that it might have been the greatest halftime show I've ever seen. When you consider the fact that not everyone wants to hear the deep messaging that a Kendrick releases, not everyone wants to hear the controversy behind it, even though it's going to push internet culture forward. All Bad Bunny really did was create a party. And if you accomplished getting everyone at home to dance, especially during what was the more boring Super Bowl actual games that we've seen, I say that's a job well done. So, congratulations to Bad Bunny, his team, everyone that was involved for making the highlight of the night with this halftime show. And I'm very curious to see who they choose next. Some people might say if they really want to go down the path of the most popular artist globally, the next person in line to consider is really two people. I would say Taylor Swift on one end seems like the world is begging for her to finally do her halftime show now that she's at the peak of her career. But the other selection, if she still chooses to not do it, would be BTS, the K-pop group, who globally has that impact, and their next album that's about to come out might be the number one selling album all year, especially considering that since last time they released an album, K-pop has had an explosion, a second renaissance, so to speak, that recently was headlined by K-pop Demon Hunters having the song Golden be one of the most popular songs of the year. What makes someone eligible for a halftime show has completely changed, and I'm very curious to see how the selection process continues going forward.